Watch now and be the first to know.
Hey, I'm Phil Munsey, and welcome to a unique and exciting 30 minutes. I'm glad you're with us. Just stay right there, put that remote down. You are going to be so inspired today. I'm very excited to introduce to you two very special friends and people in the kingdom of God, Pastor Denny and Leesa Bellesi. Blessings. If I get it right here, would I just say Bellesi? Poof, boy, man, and I do this, huh? And you're friends, right? Yeah. So watch that, huh? Yeah. Look, I'm so glad to have you guys because first of all, I want to introduce you to the TBN family because I don't know, is this your first time?
Second time.
Second time. So let's just assume that our world viewers, because we literally are adding tens of thousands of viewers every day. First of all, you started a church, and we're kind of peers because you started a church in 1985 right here in South Orange County, which is really where the headquarters of TBN is, Coast Hills.
Coast Hills Community Church, 1985, and we're not only fellow pastors in the same community, but we play golf together, so that's really important.
Oh man, I didn't want you to bring that up because then of course you're smiling because you're so much more, you're so much better. But your church, Coast Hills, you should know, and I just want to say this openly because, you know, typically it's easy for pastors sometimes to outwardly say the right things but inwardly compete. But you know, you have left such an incredible impact on Orange County.
Well,
and Coast Hills, your personal ministry, both of you, the people that you have developed, and the church that now continues on with great impact is such a great reflection of true pastoring, having a true heart rather than just building a crowd and building buildings. You really built a great church, both of you.
Well, thank you. And it was a privilege and one of the great privileges of our life to be able to do so. And to be able to be there for 20 years is a tremendous gift from the Lord. So.
And it's hard to give your baby up for adoption, but
sure.
We did, and they're doing great.
Yeah, they are, and that's really it. And now, something really spectacular happened. You know, you built this great church, but it was a few years ago when you had this revolutionary idea. Now, when we talk about it, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to say, oh yeah, I've heard that. But this was, I think, in 2000, if I remember right. In 2000, you had this idea of a sermon. Tell me about how you got it and what happened, because essentially, by the time you closed the message in the sermon, it landed you on Oprah Winfrey's show and books all around the world. How did it happen?
Well, it was just meant to be a sermon illustration, but I had to do a message on the subject of stewardship, and I always thought, and I think people in the church think that stewardship is just about giving money to the church, and I wanted to get our people to see a bigger picture of what it means to be a steward, because being a faithful steward or giving money to the church is just one of the things that a faithful steward does.
Yes.
And I wanted them to really understand the difference between being owners and stewards.
Yeah.
And that God is the owner of everything. So we taught on the subject. I taught on the parable of the talents. I told our people I never want us to forget this parable. And I said I needed some help in order to do that. And so we asked for 100 volunteers in our church. I passed out $100 bills to each one with 3 conditions. Number 1, they had to recognize the money didn't belong to them. It belonged to God, who's entrusted it to them because He loves them and because He believes in them. Number 2, they had to invest it on His behalf, outside the walls of our church, outside the community of our church, in some way that advanced His kingdom purpose. And 3, they need to come back in 90 days and tell us what happened to that $100.
So in 90 days, what happened?
Tell them.
It was just amazing. I mean, right away there was a buzz in the church. They were just, people thought they were going to have to get up and dance. They had no idea what they were getting up on the stage for, to volunteer for. And when they got, this cold cash, they were just laughing, crying, what could this be? And it, right away, I mean, seeing things happen and the way people reacted, but we just encouraged them to pray and to pray about what they were going to do. They couldn't put it back in the church offering plate. People wanted to give it to the first homeless person they could, and what ended up becoming just this little idea became so many foundations and people's life work. And we would get emails from people or letters that said, God is talking to me. Like I'm hearing from God in ways I've never heard from him before. I'm witnessing. I haven't witnessed to my friends in years. And I have told 4 friends about the Lord just this week.
Well,
And
it just took people, and like it made got a lot of attention here in Orange County, because people, like you said, they were challenged, because I don't think we think about money like that, and so they started thinking, well, I got to do something to bear some kind of fruit. So what you said, foundations, ministries.
Oh yeah, their purpose.
In
Some of
the
their
first
purpose.
90 days, that $10,000 that we passed out became over $150,000 of ministry that we tracked around the world.
Oh my goodness.
And then it just went from there. I mean, it was just.
Now it's in the millions.
It just, now there are kingdom assignments in hundreds of churches across the country, across the world. We have kingdom assignments going on in churches on 6 continents.
So kingdom assignment, it became now the book, and it became really a movement.
Yeah.
The whole ideal of one little sermon and a Sunday morning, great church. Now kingdom assignment is, and real quickly, because it's pretty cool. But ultimately, you were on Oprah Winfrey Show talking about this crazy concept of a church giving money away.
Yeah.
That challenged their people, and that was quite an experience.
Yeah, in 2003, we were on, and Terry Zwick was on with us, and she had turned her $100 into over $1 million project for women and children in transition.
In 3 years.
For building,
That's amazing. And who would have known that it would ultimately land you on First to Know on TBN? I mean,
I know.
Look what God would do. Well, so because there's so many things I want to talk to you about. This and a lot of churches do this now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
know my own
It's great.
brother-in-law and Kevin Gerald. They just did it. They turned like it was like 10,000 into, it's just amazing. And so you have books called Kingdom Assignment. What will you do with the talents God's given you? And then you have.
Well, this was the next year. Now I wanted to say something about the parable here. We were just talking about it earlier. The parable is the convicting factor. And when we actually trademarked the words kingdom assignment and connected it with the parable of the talents. So you really kind of can't separate the two, because if you read the parable of the talents, it is very convicting. This is life work, because when we stand before God, we are going to be asked 2 questions. What did you do with my son?
Yeah.
And what did you do with the talent, treasure, time, the resources that I gave you? What did you do with that? Did you bear fruit? And it's those words are very convicting, where it says, well done, good and faithful servant, to the first 2 servants, but to the last servant,
They are pretty harsh words.
He
Probably
was
the
very
harsh.
wicked, lazy servant, get away from me.
Yeah.
But
And
Phil, one of the things we've
Yeah,
also
that's good,
discovered in this is that there's so many people that sit on the sidelines in a church. You would know that 20-80% rule of 20% of the people give 80% of the money, do 80% of the work.
Is that other churches too?
But what
No,
we discovered is that this little crazy tool of a kingdom assignment is really a stewardship and outreach project and ministry project for the 80%, because it really has empowered them with a tool that they intuitively understand. Being away from the pastorate for a while, one of the things I discovered is a lot of the tools that we give our people as pastors, they're intimidated by.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know enough. I don't have all my theology together. I don't know all the answers. I don't know. I'll just let Pastor Phil do it. I'll just let the staff do it.
Wow.
And what we really did was gave them a tool that they are dealing with every day, and said, now ask the Lord, what does He want you to do with this? How can you be faithful with this? And it's not a contest. It's just about hearing from God and being faithful with the time, the treasure, and the talent that He's given to you.
Yeah, and I think that what you're saying is also, I think the church not only intimidates people, but I think the bureaucracy of church programs, this kind of shows how you basically just got out of the way, and instead of having to go through committees to get a board approval for this and that and the other, you just gave away that $100.
In fact, we told them,
and trust
you don't need our, we don't need to, you don't need to get our approval. You don't have to have our approval. You can do anything. Whatever you do is between you and God. All we want to know is what happened.